Okay, today, here we go. We're solving equations that have an x. They have an x squared in them, but they don't have as much as yesterday. So yesterday we had problems that were more like this. Okay, and to solve this, what did we have to do yesterday? We had to factor it. Okay, but if there's just an x squared, all you really need to do is get x squared by itself. So these are kind of simpler today. There's not like an x squared and a 3x or whatever. It's a little more simpler. If there's just an x squared for your variable, get it by itself. Okay, how do we get rid of a square? What's the opposite of a square? Square root. So to get rid of that square, we would square root both sides. And we would get x equals 3. Okay, because if we go back to the beginning, 3 squared does equal 9, right? Okay, but there's a problem with this. 3 is not the only answer. What else squared equals? Negative 3 also works. Okay, so there's kind of a problem when you use the square root trick. And the problem is that the positive 3 is not the only answer. So the answer today will actually be positive and negative 3 or something like that. Okay, does that make sense? So we're going to have to put plus or minus on all these because negative 3 squared is also positive 9. Negative 3 times negative 3 is also 9. Okay, so if I had like x squared. Hey, I'm talking right now. It means you guys aren't. Okay, if I had x squared equals 50, what would I do here? Well, you'd square root it. But what's the square root of 50?
5, 2, 5.
Okay, 50, it doesn't. I don't want a decimal, but it does simplify. Yes, it's like last chapter, 5 square root of 2. Now, what is wrong with this answer?
It's not plus or minus.
Plus or minus. Okay, all of these could be negative. This squared is also going to be 50. So anyway, we got to add the negative on. Anytime you use that square root trick, the negative is going to work as well. All right, this should get us going. Number 1.
I'll do number 1 as Jordan.
I kind of think we're on Owen right now,
Oh, damn.
if I remember correctly. Or Brooke, did you do one yesterday? Were you here?
I did one for sure.
Okay, maybe we're on Brooke then.
Yes.
Oh, good. Yes. Okay.
Number 1.
So all of these have positive and negative?
Kind of, almost all.
Oh.
So, okay, we got x squared equals 25. So, Brooke, what do you think? What should we do? Square root it, yeah. The square root of 25 is 5, but the answer is actually positive or negative 5. Easy peasy. Alright, number 3, x squared equals 6. So, Owen, what should we do?
That would be 2.5 or negative or plus.
We're not going to be doing any decimals here.
So no, how did you do this?
So, what would we do? What's the step?
We find out what goes for x.
By doing what?
Square rooting it.
Yeah, square root. Okay. Now, we don't want any decimals for square root of 6. Does square root of 6 simplify? No, because there's no doubles in there. It's like last chapter. So it's just going to stay square root of 6. But what else do I need?
The x.
Positive or negative? Square root of 6. square root doesn't
Does it
simplify.
look like you did that?
Yeah, you can leave it with the square root. Alright, this one looks a little bit different than the last two. Nope. Miranda, what do you think? Any ideas? Okay, well, kind of like if we were solving this, like x minus 100, what would we do? Let her do it. Well, it would be 100, but what would the algebra step be like to solve it? Like, how do we get rid of minus 100? Plus 100. So you want to kind of get the x squared by itself. So it'd be the same first step. We just want to move it over. Okay. Did that make sense why this is different than yesterday's? Yesterday's was more complex. Yesterday had like, instead of like minus 100, it had like minus 20x minus 100. Okay, so this one you can't just get the x squared by itself because it's got this term. So we had to factor these because they're more complicated. But these we can just get x squared by itself. So we get x squared equals 100, and then what do we do? Right, square root. And what's the square root of 100, guys? 10. But the answer is actually positive or negative. Plus or minus 10. And just like all equations, you could plug your answers in, make sure you're doing it right. Number 7, x squared minus 5 equals 31. So Moses, what should we do on this one? Add 5. And then square root of 36 plus or minus 6. Shh, boys, hush. Okay, number 9, x squared plus 5 equals 0. All right, Brianna, what do you think we should do here? Minus 5, yep. X squared equals negative 5. Now what should we do? How have we been getting rid of square root? Okay, what is the square root of negative 5? Yeah. Next year we will learn something about this, but not this year. It's just, it doesn't work. If you plug in your calculator, well, depending on what mode your calculator's in, it might just say error, because it doesn't make sense. Nothing times itself equals negative 5. 5 times, or like if it was, let's say it was negative 25. 5 times 5 is 25, negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. Nothing times itself equals negative. So we're just going to put not real. All right. Josiah, what do you think for this one? What should we do? How would we get x squared by itself here? How do we get rid of this 3? Yeah. So if we divide by 3, that goes away. 51 divided by 3 is 17. Then what do we do to get rid of the square? Square root. Does 17, square root of 17, does that simplify? No. 17 is a prime number. 17 is a prime number. There's nothing that goes into it besides 1 times 17. So it's just going to be plus or minus square root of 17. All right, number 13. By the way, there is one even that is no real solution. Just like there's one on 3x squared. Maybe at the end. Alright, Leah, what do you think? Divide by 3, so that goes away. 81 divided by 3 is, now what? Square root. You see why we did the last chapter before this chapter? This kind of stuff. Okay, does the square root of 27 simplify? You guys remember this one from last chapter? Yeah, 27 has some 3's in it. So yeah, there's a double. So it's 3 square root of 3. So don't forget your plus or minus. I'll have to take half off if you forget it. Alright. Corbin, what should we do on 15? Divide by 4. Okay, does 50 divide by 4? No, but what can we do with it? We can like reduce, it's like 54, it's like a fraction. But we can divide both of those by 2. And then what can we do, Corbin? Square root. Okay, if you have a nice calculator, it will do this automatically. If you don't have a nice calculator, it'll give you a decimal. Okay, so when we have the square root of 25 over 2, that's the same thing as square root of 25 over square root of 2. So what's the square root of 25? 5. What's the square root of 2? Well, it doesn't really simplify. What's the problem with this answer? Can't leave the square root on the bottom, right? So what I'm going to do is multiply top and bottom by square root of 2. So the top becomes 5 square root of 2. And the bottom becomes 2. There we go. I knew we were going to say square root of 4. Alright, now I did something wrong. Anybody, what did I do wrong? Forgot the plus or minus, right? Let's go back and squeeze that in there.
How could you, Mr. Jordan?
Seeing if you guys caught me. Alright, Bo said he wanted the challenge, so we saved this one for him. Way to go, Bo.
Good job, Bilbo.
Did you call him Bilbo? Alright, shh. Okay. Any guesses?
You got equal. So like.
Hold on. Shh, hold on. I'm talking about. Not yet. So here, let me give you a hint. Let me rewrite this slightly. Alright, what would we do on this problem?
Add like terms.
Yeah, if you have x's on both sides, what do we do? Well, not exactly add them, but yeah, we would like subtract 3x, right? To get rid of the x's on one side. So guess what we're going to do over here?
Subtract 3x squared.
Okay, so 4x squared minus 3x squared is 1x squared, or just x squared.
And then what'd you do with plus 16?
Plus 16,
And you square root that in.
yeah. Okay, x squared is 25. Wasn't that number 1?
Yeah.
So what do we get on number 1? We got plus or minus 5. Skip what? The last one? Oh, skip to you. Let's see, what are we doing? 19. Kind of the same thing, isn't it? 19. So we got 3x squared plus 10x squared plus 20. Sorry, Brian, you're going to have to wait for... Well, actually, do you guys know what we're doing on Monday?
No.
You guys are taking the pre-ACT.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mr. Jordan.
I'm with you too, Mr. Jordan.
I'm with you too, Mr. Jordan.
Oh, yeah, I am half the
Here
freshman.
with Mr. Jordan.
Mr. Jordan's like,
Everyone
yeah.
else is with Mr. Jordan.
They'll probably tell you on Monday. I think I have like the second half of the like
Like after
alphabetically.
Brooke, everyone after
Brooke.
Wyatt is Wyatt, and everyone before Corbin is with Mr. Wyatt.
Okay.
Wyatt.
So you've been told already.
So,
I have a list somewhere, but I don't know where I put it. Okay.
No.
Did you guys take this pre-ACT last year in 8th grade? Okay. Jonathan, what should we do on this one? Subtract x squared. Alright, so we got 3x squared minus 1x squared is 2x squared. Alright.
Would you divide 2 first?
You could. Usually we subtract 10 first, right? We usually get rid of the added value first. If you divide by 2 first, you would have to divide every term by 2,
Oh, okay.
which would work, but usually it's easier to subtract first.
So we would divide by 2. X squared equals 7. Then you square root of 2.
So x equals,
Plus minus square root of 7.
alright, we saved the best for last.
Are there gonna be any not
Are there going to be any not reals? Yeah, there's one on the evens.
even not real?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We should do an extra credit.
We should make 24.
Extra credit.
24.
How about like 30 maybe?
Okay.
If you want to do an extra credit. Alright, actually I kind of want to do more than one example. The last 3 are all kind of the same. I'll just make up one, so you don't necessarily have to write this one down. Let's do something more like 20. Okay, well, okay. We haven't seen anything quite like this. It's a little bit different. So, but does anybody want to guess what we might do at this point? Boys,
Square root both sides.
square root both sides. Because this is all squared, all of this is squared, we do not want to FOIL this. Actually, that is another way we could solve it, but it's a much harder way. We could do like FOIL this, and then subtract the 17 over, and then factor it again, and okay.
What?
Actually, it wouldn't even factor, so we couldn't do that. We'd have to know a trick that we don't even know. But yeah, definitely want to just square root this. Okay, that will get rid of the square, so the left side is just x minus 5, which is good. We simplified that. What will the right side be though? Close. It's not just square root of 17, it's actually plus or minus square root of 17. Okay, because anytime you use that square root trick, that's what happens. Okay, how would I solve this for x? Plus 5. Now, does 5, square root of 17 plus 5, does that simplify? No, they do not mix. So the way the book would write it, because the neatest way to write it, is just 5 plus or minus square root of 17. Okay, that's actually two different answers. That means it's 5 plus square root of 17 and 5 minus square root of 17, which are really weird decimal answers. That's why we don't change it. So anyway, that's two answers. It's just the neatest way to write it. So with the plus minus, if you put that, it'd still be correct. All right, so let's go back to the odds. Number 21. I just made that one up. Is x plus 2 squared. 12. All right. Huh? No, that's 24. All right, so what should I do first on this one? Square root. Sophia, are you Ingrid and Coleman? Are you going to beat me up now?
Always.
Isn't she prone to violence? She's from what?
Doesn't that 12 simplify?
Okay, does square root of 12 simplify?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's got a 4 in it, got a double 2 in it. So we're going to turn that into 2 square root of 3. Okay, subtract 2. Is that going to mix with this thing? No. Negative 2 plus or minus 2 squared. That doesn't really mix. It doesn't simplify. So it's just negative 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 3.
Number 22, the answer is plus or minus
22. Oh shoot, it's a little different, isn't it? Okay, it's not just 1. So on 22, when you square root the right side, what does it become? It becomes plus or minus 5. So it's x plus 4 equals plus or minus 5. And then what would we do? Minus 4. Okay, now unlike the other two that we did, this one actually simplifies. Because this is negative 4 plus 5, and it's negative 4 minus 5, which we can actually do that. So, you guys get it? It's negative 4 plus 5 and negative 4 minus 5. Or you could say it the other way. It's 5 minus 4 and negative 5 minus 4. So this one actually does work out. So you got two different answers there, not just one.
Is that one above us 21 or
22. Did I write the wrong number down here? What number was that? 22.
You're at 25.
This was 21.